Hello, my name is Mr. Drew and I'll be talking about vector addition and subtraction. The preliminary rule to understand first is the Parallelogram Rule, which says that if we place two vectors so that they have the same initial point and then complete the vectors into a parallelogram, then the sum of the vectors is the diagonal that starts at the same point as the vectors. The sum of the two vectors is also known as the resultant vector. So for addition, the graphical method of adding vectors a and b, for example, it could be anything, c and d, involves drawing vectors on a graph and adding them using the head-to-tail method. The resultant vector r is defined such that a plus b is equivalent to r. The magnitude and direction of r are then determined using ruler and protractor, respectively. An example question. Find vector u plus b if u is 3, 4 and v is 5, negative 1. The first way to solve this is to substitute the given values and then use this formula that you add u1 plus v1 and second y value u2 plus v2, where you get 8 and 3. For subtraction, essentially subtraction of vectors is when we flip the vector so it points in the opposite direction. So in this case, b, where a minus b is negative, so negative b. If it has the same length, but opposite direction. The subtraction of vector b from vector a is then simply defined as the addition of negative b to a. Note that vector subtraction is the addition of a negative vector. This is an example, same coordinates, but u minus v. This question would be solved in the same way as u plus v. However, you need to find negative v first, and that is switching the positive and negative values of the coordinate. So instead of 5, negative 1, you have negative 1 and 5. And you input this into u plus negative v, and you get negative 2 and 5 as your subtraction vector. So now on to some questions. These are communication questions. How should vectors be aligned when they are added geometrically? The answer to that is that they must be aligned head to tail. For the next one, what happens if you multiply a vector by a scalar? What do you get? It results in a collinear vector. Now let's try this question. If a equals 4 and b equals 8 and the angle between them is 57.6 degrees, determine a unit vector in the direction of a minus b. The answer to that would be the following. Move on to some homework questions. Find both if a is equal to 2 and 3 and b is 12 and 6. Find a plus b and a minus b. And the second homework question is if a is equivalent to 3 and b is equivalent to 4 and the angle between them is 60 degrees, find the resultant vector.